What I thought was going to be a quiet day turned into a little bit of an eventful one with the 49ers' recent injury report. So, Kyle Shanahan joins KMBR and he kind of talks about a bunch of different things, but I do want to highlight what he had to say about the injuries. And not only that, I want to highlight what he had to say about Brandon Aiyuk because I've seen so many people talking about Brandon Aiyuk and what he's not doing and all these different types of things. Well, Kyle Shanahan has a completely different assessment than what we've been hearing from a narrative perspective on Brandon Ayuk's performance against the Minnesota Vikings. So, also, we get a little bit of an update on Talanoa Hufanga, a couple things that I wanted to highlight here. That is Kyle Shanahan joining KMBR.
Would you agree with the assessment? I said I didn't think your guys' defense played as well as the 23 points would indicate that you gave up against the Vikings, and that the offense played better than the only 17 points you scored. Like, I thought both teams could have scored more than they actually scored.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I thought they ran the ball on us too well, and they were too good on third downs. And I was very, very thankful for Fred's 2 turnovers there in the red zone, or it could have got out of hand. And the offense was frustrating to go on a 99-yard drive or 94, whatever it was, and not score. I think it was the 94-yard one, and then to have the 91 and score. But I get all these analytics that our guys drop on our desk, and on first and second down, we were the third most successful team last week in the NFL. It definitely didn't feel like that, but that's what the analytics told me. And I was like, man, I didn't feel like we were third best in that area. So it shows we were doing some good things, but if you don't move the chains on third down or fourth down, it's really hard to score touchdowns unless you're expecting it to do all on first and second. And that's why you got to have a complete game to score points. And it's not always totally indicative of it, but just as a whole, that all tied into it. We didn't play that well, but we were very close to doing some really good things. But you gotta hit it at the right time, and it takes 11 guys to do it on each play, and we didn't get it done.
I always tell them, I always trust the nerds after the game. Not during the game, but after the game. Let me ask you about a decision that you had to make late in the game. I'm just curious your thought process, because watching the game, I was thinking there maybe was an opportunity there to kick a field goal with 2:18 left. My thought process was you had a timeout and a 2-minute warning, and you wanted to make sure, in my mind, Minnesota got the ball before the 2-minute warning, so you had a chance to stop the ball twice and make them make a decision on third down. I understand it's much tougher to score the touchdown, so when you're down there, you want to score the touchdown, and you had 18 seconds to try and get that touchdown. Take me through that thought process and why you go for that play, because you went for the play, Debo gets tackled, and then it's a 2-minute warning, and now you're kind of relying on you're relying on an onside kick.
Yeah, well, we were expecting to move the chains, and we were expecting a score. Obviously the way it played out, if you have a chance to score a touch, it's really hard to go score a touchdown when you have no timeouts. When you have no timeouts, and there's, whether it's only 45 seconds, I can't remember what it would have been, but no timeouts with 45 seconds is, to me, totally different than, just having one timeout with 30 seconds. Yeah. It's a big difference on what you can run and what they do. So, like, if you're close enough to ever score a touchdown, that's what you want to try to go for. And we would have actually gone for it on fourth down, but, that guy, 43, made a hell of a play tipping the ball up in there, and Debo tried to knock it down, but it kind of just stuck in his stomach, and we ended up losing, 8 yards or whatever it was on it. So then it made it kind of an easy decision. But the goal is to, when you do get it at the end, to hopefully only need a field goal.
Got it.
Talking to 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan, nice enough to join us on the UMA guest line. In terms of looking ahead to this week and some of the injuries you guys are dealing with, I saw George Kittle was out of practice today, as was Charvarius Ward. Either guy at risk of missing the game on Sunday?
They possibly could. I can't. I got to think of my coach talk right now. They will end up being questionable, I'm sure. But yeah, they had good practices yesterday. They complained of some soreness after practice, and they came in this morning with it. So we weren't going to put them out there today and have them get real hurt. So hopefully they come in tomorrow feeling better and can get some work in, because definitely hoping those guys can be available on Sunday. But if not, got to go to the next guys up.
Is there anything that, when you're watching the film, that's noticeable the first couple games that Aiyuk did last year that isn't doing this year, and you could attribute that to the time he missed?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I know he got a lot of attention for having that drop in the first game versus the Jets. But I mean, that was just a drop. I know if he did that and hadn't gone through all the contract stuff, that probably everyone would have just said it was just a drop. So I think people look into that stuff a little too much. But I thought Aiyuk had a hell of a game last week. He had a number of times where he was open, did his job, but it just takes 11 guys on a play to kind of make that all work out. And that's kind of the frustrating thing about being a wideout. But the way he ran his routes, the way he blocked, he had a hell of a game. But, I think when you go through some of this stuff, and that's what's tough in sports, just with all the coverage and everything and how much money these guys do make, that when you do get all that attention and you sign a deal like that, everyone's going to want to expect more and more and more. And the way people usually judge that is by stats. And stats doesn't always tell the story. I'm just hoping Aiyuk can have an all-pro season like he did last year. And he did that by just working in every single game. Sometimes the ball came to him more than others, but whenever it did, he was always ready. And that's what led to such a good season.
Let me ask you about the sequence, a big sequence at the end of the game. It was like, I don't know, I think it was late third, could have been early fourth. Purdy throws the pick, and then Naylor gets a touchdown in the corner of the end zone. Was that a bad read by Purdy? Did he not see the linebacker coming over, or was it just maybe was a throw a little late?
No, it was actually It was a hell of a play by that linebacker. It was the right read. We took a 7-step drop. We had a 3-level throw, so someone's really deep, and the safeties were way out of there. Then he tries to go to throw it to the middle level with the guy running a crossing route. We had Debo on 2 of them in the game, and they got really deep. And then so he goes to check it down to Juice on his second hitch, which was really good timing. Mm-hmm. Kittle was in blocking on the backside, and the linebacker over him was just reading his eyes the whole way. And Juice bled in a little bit to get away from a guy, and Purdy tried to put it on his outside half, and the guy dove and tipped the ball. And when he tipped it, there was another zoning defender behind him ready to get it. So I put that one more to just a really good play by that backer. And you know, when you do leave a tight end a block and you got 6 guys all staring at the quarterback, and that ball gets tipped, there's usually someone there behind it to see it, where it doesn't happen in man coverage as much. But that's the advantage of playing zone, is that all eyes are on the quarterback. So if that ball's up in the air, there's a much better chance to get some turnovers.
Well, like I like to tell the home team fans all the time, they get paid too. They're good. On the touchdown to Naylor, was that just a bad guess by Ward? Because he really came up hard on the run, and Naylor ran right by him. And that's the only thing I could assume. I don't know what his assignment was, but it looked like he thought it was going to be a run, came up hard, and then Naylor just went right by him.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened. That's a really tough play. I mean, people run it a ton. It puts a guy in a conflict when you're in man coverage. Mm-hmm. When you have the guy you're in man coverage with motions down and he inserts inside of a tight end to go block the strong safety. When he does put his hands on that strong safety, that corner needs to tackle the running back right away. He's going through that gap. And so he starts to put his hands on the strong safety, and then you just take your eyes off to look at the back who's running right at you. And then in a split second, that guy bluffs him and he's gone. And so I had Sherm text me last couple of days ago, because Sherm got beat on that whenever he was here, 4 years ago. It's a tough play for corners, especially in man-to-man. So they had a good call at the time. We can still do it better. We got to be disciplined on that and fit it up a little bit better, but it was definitely a tough situation for him.
Got it.
Talanoa Hufanga, full practice participant. Expectation is that he's going to go this weekend?
Yeah, that is the expectation. He's had a really good week of practice. I'm expecting to be out there. I know he's been itching to get back. I remember seeing him on the sidelines versus Minnesota. He came up to me. He's like, "This is the last one. This is the last one I can handle. I can't wait to be back next week." And he's had a great week of practice, and expect him to see him out flying around out there on Sunday.
How much do you think changes from a defensive standpoint playing the Rams this week without Puka and without Kupp? I'm sure McVay will still want to throw it, but he very easily could rely on Williams and Corum and just try to get the running game going. How much changes from what you guys envision? Do you think it'll be much different, game plan changes, or they are who they are? They're just ask other players to do what those two guys can do, or try to do anyway?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Puka and Kupp are such good players, and so I'm definitely not sad that they're not playing. So like that is a good thing for us. But but when Stafford's out there, it doesn't matter a ton. I mean, it's nice to not have those 2 Pro Bowl receivers, but the other guys can play too. They're going to get in their spots, and their quarterback is as good as it gets. So he's going to be able to still find ways to get guys the ball. And when you have him, it's always a threat in the pass game. And then I think Kyron Williams was one of the better backs in this league. So just the 2 of those guys together in that scheme, it's always still going to have problems, and definitely going to have our work cut out for us.
So the injury thing is unfortunate, but we'll have to continue to see how it plays out throughout the week. Obviously, you could see kind of like transitioned into like, oh, all right, I can't say the wrong thing here and got to make sure I'm on my P's and Q's. And so we'll see how that potentially plays out with some of these players. And the thing that really stood out to me was what he said about Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk did have a pretty good game. I get it. He didn't produce, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities for him to make plays on the ball. And when he was given the opportunity, he did for the most part. But there was just some things that didn't work out. And I really like what Kyle had to say, because this was my read on it. I did a video on the channel about how this narrative about him is overblown and all these different types of things, and hear directly from Kyle that he was impressed with the things that Brandon Aiyuk was doing. Now, obviously, we need to see it turn into production, and that's when it really matter. But again, I thought it was nice of him to kind of present that information out, and on top of that as well, hearing that Talanoa Hufanga is going to return. I liked a little bit about how Talanoa was on the sideline telling Kyle, "This is the last game. I'm not sitting out," because we know he's been practicing for like the last 2 weeks and actually 3 weeks now, and I think the point is that they were just really not trying to rush him back. They wanted to make sure that he's good to go. He will be a full participant all week in practice, and it's a good sign. It's great, but it was cool to hear that he's on the sideline at Minnesota saying, like, "This is it. This is the last week. I'm getting back." So to me, that tells me Hufanga is going to be hungry. He's going to be ready, and I'm excited. I know losing potentially Kittle is going to be tough. We'll see what happens with Charvarius Ward, but being able to get Talanoa Hufanga back is going to be huge for the San Francisco 49ers. So you guys let me know what you thought of what Kyle Shanahan had to say in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.